Johnny Brett, the director and screenplay writer behind Die Antwaken, is joining me in studio. He's going to introduce us to this psychological thriller. Hello.
Hi there.
It's nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Now the thriller is very scary. I'm just going to start off the bat with that. It looks pretty freaky.
It is quite freaky. It's not a slasher movie though, so it's more psychological. But there are some scary moments in them. Some of them are more what's going on inside the psyche of the main character, you know. So yes, it's definitely not a romantic comedy.
I think in the Afrikaans genre, we've gotten used to seeing a lot of rom-coms. Why did you decide to tell this particular story?
I didn't think I was going to do as dark a film as this, but I did want to do something that was not being made, and with that challenge myself and also challenge the Afrikaans audience, who I think are ready for other genres, but you know, it's always been risky to do them.
You wrote the screenplay. The movie is based on a book, am I right?
Correct, yes.
Tell me about adapting the story from a novel to a movie. I understand that's quite difficult.
You know, I thought it would be easier, but it is quite a difficult task, you know, because books are obviously not written in a cinematic way. Having said that, Chris Carsten did write it almost like a film though, you know, so that did help.
Tell us a little bit about the story. We follow a psycho killer, if I will. Tell us about that character and what we can expect from the movie.
Abel Lotz is somebody that's not only a serial killer, he's actually a very ordinary sort of nerdy type bloke who runs an art gallery and collects masks and hides and trades in that sort of field. But somewhere in his life something went wrong as a kid, and without giving too much away for the people who are going to watch the movie, he basically gets this twisted infatuation with tattoos, and from there his experiments go further than what he had planned, and in that people lose their lives. So the story is really about a detective, a young detective woman whose name is Elanessa, and she's just become a detective, just come out of having worn a uniform, so she's now, you know, messing with the big boys now, mixing with the big boys, and she gets her first murder case, and it just happens to be Abel's first murder, and little do they know that it's going to develop into a serial killing.
I think anyone who sees this movie is never going to get a tattoo.
There was a competition running on our Facebook page that you could win a tattoo, and there have been quite a lot of people have entered, so those may be the last ones.
The last ones they get. What's your favorite horror film?
I prefer psycho thriller more, you know, and so obviously Silence of the Lambs, you know, that was, and this film is in many ways related, you know, story-wise and that, and often people say, oh, it's like the Afrikaans version of Silence of the Lambs, but it's not. And
that's a huge compliment.
It is, but it's also a very different story to that, you know. But I think that Silence of the Lambs was something that I was intrigued by.
Now, if the author, the original author of the book, writes a sequel, will you consider making a sequel for the movie?
It was a trilogy. They've just he's written a fourth book, but the fourth book doesn't involve Abel Lotz. So it's the same detective, but the first three books there's a trilogy. And I knew that at the time, but you know, one never knows whether you're going to get the money to make the other two. So it all depends on whether people come and watch this film.
Great. Now, if we want to go out and see the movie, how can we do that?
It's going to be in 21 cinemas in South Africa. Originally it was only going to go to 5, so we're lucky that we're going to 21 cinemas in most of the major cities. It is earmarked for mostly Afrikaans areas, so it's going to the obvious Pretoria, you know, Cape Town, Bloemfontein, the West Rand in Krugersdorp, and a number of places. What we will do is on our Facebook page we'll have where all the cinemas are. But I want to encourage people who are not Afrikaans to watch the movie, because it's a South African film and it's also an international film, you know. So I've shown it to at least 1,000 people have seen the film now, and a lot of the focus groups were from different demographics and different cultures, different races, and I was surprised to see how many people who were not Afrikaans actually enjoyed the film.